we talk about having humor, and we were talking about aliens, and it was supposed to be a little bit of conspiracy theory, but we never really got into that part of it, so that's definitely going to have to happen again.
Right.
But one of the things that Matt said that was interesting was, let's say we have an alien invasion tomorrow, right? No one's going to care if you're on the right or the left,
Right.
because now we have something else that we need to worry about, right?
Exactly.
So that's the point of my podcast, is like, I want to get to that point where we're having those conversations, and I don't ever want to change anybody's mind. It's not why I'm here.
It's a matter of supplementing what they already know with some more interesting things, food for thought type of stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's super important.
Yep.
All of a sudden, people are all thinking about the same shit all the time. You lose you lose the spice of life. Diversity ceases to exist, and then you're just thinking about politics and politicians and things that really, oddly enough, don't even matter. If you really think about it. I mean, really, how much does it matter? You're convinced that it matters very much, especially if you listen to the news. But honestly, like for instance, with the whole pandemic, if they had made this initially just to be a natural disaster, which it is, because this is a natural disaster, even if there was human intervention, the point is it's affecting people on a natural basis. This is a natural thing that happens to people. They contract a disease and they die or they get sick, whatever. When something happens on a natural disaster level, like remember when the hurricanes came through and destroyed Munson and Brimfield? And
Yep, absolutely.
People got together. People got together and fixed it. You know what I mean?
People
Helped
were
each
bringing
other
out chainsaws.
Yeah.
And,
they were doing anything they could. Now, obviously, there was a little bit of turmoil. I mean, there were stressful times, but not everybody was pinned against each other. There wasn't this wild 50-50 divide. The first thing that happened when this pandemic started, it became a political thing immediately.
Right.
How can you really help anybody? Because now
everything that comes in the near future is going to be politically motivated. You know what I mean?
It's like you gotta at some point realize that this involves people as an individual, but as a collective. Or I should say more so as a collective than as an individual. Because what we're experiencing is that we collectively weren't ready from a planetary standpoint. In fact. From like a health standpoint, you know what I mean?
Right.
Obviously, people who are really old are going to always be, compromised, so they're on their way out anyways. And not to say that that's what they deserve. I'm not saying people should just die, but I mean people do, and it's a part of life. And if you have trouble accepting that, it's going to be a long life for you.
Sure.
You know what I mean? You can't just dwell on that. You have to find out how you can make yourself less susceptible to something like that. And forget about the pandemic. Say if you're somebody who lives on the coast and your house keeps getting washed out by freaking bad weather and tsunamis and whatever the hell keeps affecting your house, like hurricanes, move.
Right.
You know what I mean? Quit being the problem. Figure out the ssolution. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I think a lot more people have more power than they're given credit for, or giving, there's not enough emphasis or education on helping people understand what they can do to better themselves, right?
Right.
Like back to even the current pandemic, it's like there's no talk about how to stay healthy and what to do. Nobody cares about that. We want to know whose fault it was.
Yeah, well, Joe Rogan said it the best.
Whose fault was this? It's like, who cares? It's your fault if you've been sitting on your ass for the past 90 years. You know what I mean? Like, or well, not 90. If you're 90, you're gonna, you're in bad shape. But that's just how it is for everybody who's 90. If you've been, not taking care of yourself for many years, and I say this only because I see it so often,
right,
in the health industry, where you'll have somebody come in and they haven't exercised their entire lives, and now they have a shoulder issue or a hip issue or a knee issue. There's a lot of backtracking you have to do, right? And it's not entirely, in an isolated standpoint, their fault, but it's because society doesn't always put that kind of pressure on people.
Right.
And I think there should be more availability to that type of knowledge, as well as financial knowledge. Most people don't know how economy even works.
Right.
And you notice that when you're seeing people talk about rich people are poor people. It's like, do you know how that person got rich? Do you know how the person got poor?
Yeah.
No. They don't care to know.
One of the things I always laugh when you talk about the Fed or the Reserve, no one knows that's a private entity.
Yeah.
And then when you explain that, they're like, when did that happen?
Yeah.
It's amazing how much people didn't know. And listen, I was at that point where I was that person years ago where it was lollipop and butterflies, man. Like, my biggest worry was, am I going to be able to catch my show on a Friday night? You know what I mean? But then as things start getting uglier, and I had the mental fortitude to say, listen, I'm not going to listen to anybody. I'm just going to do my homework, come out with my own opinion, and then go from there. If you looked at my podcast and all my news stuff, I follow both sides. I don't leave a stone unturned. Oh, yeah. And so I know when I have a debate or a discussion with somebody, I'm coming from a genuine place. Like, I'm coming with true facts. I'm not just, spurting off one side or the other. So, like, where my podcast is going to be going, I want to have a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
So it's like
you don't want to be labeled, in other words, as just, oh, he's this. And I'm in the same boat.
Yeah.
Like I would love it so much if this was considered, like, for instance, the times we're undergoing is just like an event that we're all sort of collectively contributing towards in a productive way to help each other, right?
Right.
Versus promoting a political side.
Sure.
Right? Because that's kind of what's happening, if you notice, like based off of people's mannerisms and how they're being quote unquote safe. Some people, there's a lot of shaming going on. There's a lot of, people who are aggressively against the masks almost too much. And then there's a lot of people who are being really disgusting about people wanting to do things with their lives, like go outside.